All right, welcome back. In our last video, we had a coin that we collected and just made it disappear and play a sound when I grabbed it, but you're probably going to want to have multiple coins out here. And one of the really handy things is to know how many coins you got, because we can either then compare scores or let a user know, maybe you have to collect all of the coins before you're allowed to move on to the next level, or what have you. But we just, in games, we often like to keep track of the things that we've done. So we're going to set up a little heads up display here so that we can see that. And we often call this a HUD or, just a score or something. It's usually something that sits up on the top layer here. And let's have a look at how to create that. And because I'm going to use it on multiple levels, I am again going to make my own scene. And this is a new kind of node we want to do because we're in a 3D world. I don't want to have the score kind of rotating around and vanishing and popping in and out as I can see it. I want it to always be seen. And it's flat. I don't need to look at the score from different angles, so it's going to kind of live up top, kind of like this perspective layer here. You can see how I move stuff around. This is kind of my heads-up display. So the node we want to use is called a canvas layer. And a canvas layer is a node for independent rendering of objects within a 2D scene. So we actually have a 2D scene that's sitting on top of a 3D scene here. So I'm going to make myself a new canvas layer. And I'm just going to call this the HUD, the heads up display. It's a pretty common name for it. And for this, it's actually way easier to look at it in the 2D world because this is how we're going to be seeing it over top of our screen. So I'm going to switch to 2D here. And this is all it is just an empty layer that I can then put things on top of, and it will always appear on my screen where I put them, which is kind of nice. So in this case, I would like to add something to this and to display some text. And this is where, in the heads-up displays or canvas layers, is where a lot of our control nodes go. You'll see there's text edits and color rectangles and labels for text and even rich text labels, video players, panels for backgrounds and collecting things, even menu bars, and all of this stuff is designed specifically for kind of heads-up displays and title screens and menus and user interfaces and things like that. So for me, I want just to display some plain text here. So I'm going to use a label as my child here. And you can see that the label appears right there. And a label is a pretty simple piece of text. I can just type some stuff like coins 5 or something. And if I zoom in, you can see there's my coins. And if I save this scene, I'll call that my HUD. And I'm just going to drop it, instantiate it on level 1. You'll see if I play, that in the top corner, we've got this little overlay of the word coins 5 at the moment. There we go. You can see it's a little hard to see sometimes depending on the background, especially with the light. So we'll look at I think a panel or some information, a label there or something like that to get out. But good, there's a great start. And as I said, yeah, maybe in our 2D world, we want to add something here. We can add a panel if we like. And a panel is just that. It's something that kind of groups stuff together. And in this case, I've got a little background here. Now notice it kind of covered over my coins, is not as bright and vibrant. And that's because the order of things that we place is important. The last thing goes on top. So the panel is currently covering over coins. Panels by themselves are a little bit semi-transparent, so you can still see it. But if I want to get that clear wording, I can drag this up and make it go above label. Careful you're not putting on label, it'll make it a child there. But above label, and now you can see coins pops out a little bit better. Perfect. Now, I don't always want 5 coins or 0 coins. I want coins to change depending on how I'm got them. So for that, I'm going to need a little bit of programming here. So I'm going to attach a script to my HUD. And I'll keep it on the HUD so that I can add other things to the HUD if I want. And so for this, I want to start off with some coins being done by a variable. So I'm going to make var coins collected, we'll call it. Let's make it equal to 0 at the beginning. And now func ready. So when my HUD is ready, I would like the label to read something specific. So I'm going to access that as a child, label, period text. I can make the text equal to whatever I want. And in this case, I'm going to make it equal to coins. And then I can't put coins collected inside the quotation marks. That'll just put the word coins collected there. So I want to add however many coins I've got. Currently it's 0, but I can do that with plus and then coins collected. It's a variable, so I can tack on a variable to a word here. Now, in the current state, we're going to run into some problems. It's going to give us an error. In fact, let's just quickly look at that error here. As I hit play, it's going to crash on me probably. Boom, there we go. It says invalid operands string and int in operator plus. And that's a fancy way of saying I can't add this thing, a string, to this thing, which is a number, an integer, because I don't understand how to do that. I can take numbers and I can add them to numbers. I'm a computer, I do that very well. I can also add coins collected to the word coins collected. I can add two words together. The computer is actually really good at that. This is a special phrase called concatenation. But I don't want that. I want to add a number. I need to add essentially the word 0 here. However, I want it to be not just necessarily 0. I want it to be whatever coins collected is. And we have a nice function for that called the string function. So str, to string something, is going to convert that number into a word, into the number with the quotation marks around it, so that the computer can then add these things together. So if I now play my HUD, you can see I get coins 0. Perfect. So now that I've programmed this via code, all I need to do is to say when I get a new coin, I want to update this information. And if I were to go onto my coin, you could see that I could send a signal. Right? We already have a signal there when the body enters it. But I need to send that information to the coin HUD, which you'll notice I can't do because in the coin scene there is no coin HUD. And I obviously can't do that on the HUD because then there's no coin. However, on level 1, I have already put a coin and the coin HUD. And you will see this instance of a coin. If I now double click that body entered signal, I can connect it to any other node that's in this scene that has a script on it, including the HUD there. But I want you to be cautious that this is an instance of the coin scene. So I am connecting up this instance to that HUD, not the main scene. So it won't work on every single coin, and I can't just drop a coin on a level and have it immediately work. But if I see if it works on this one, so I'm going to send a signal from this coin to the HUD. And what I'd like to do is to add 1 to coins when that happens. So I can say coins collected equals coins collected plus 1. And while we're here, this is a pretty common process, adding 1 or increasing the value of a variable by 1. So rather than keep retyping each time, we have been given some shortcuts, so I can use what's called plus equals 1. And essentially that's the exact same thing as saying coins collected is equal to coins collected plus 1. We're just increasing the value by 1. It's a little shorthand there. Now, just because I've increased the value of the variable, that doesn't mean that my label is going to be changed. So I'm going to copy that and say, well, I also want you to update the label. And if we play my game, let's see, I got coins is 0, and I go forward, get it, and now coins is equal to 1. Perfect. So I want you to make sure that that works, because then what you're probably going to want to do is have a bunch of coins throughout. Now that I have a one working coin that is connected up to the HUD, I can Control D to duplicate it and move it somewhere else. Control D to duplicate that one and move that somewhere else. And now I can get multiple coins, and each of these coins, the signals are already set up for you because they're copied off of the one working one. And when you move to your level 2 and level 3, just make sure you connect up that coin before you copy 100 coins that don't have a signal going to the HUD, because otherwise you're going to have to reconnect each coin there. This way, if we do a working one at the beginning and duplicate that, then you don't have to worry about making all the connections. And that's a good process for, in general, programming. Make sure small things work before you duplicate 100 of them, so that you don't have to go back and fix them all in the end. Now that I've got that, I've got a working coin HUD that has some coins there. Now the graphics aren't particularly spectacular for that coin HUD, or the font that I've chosen, and it's on the label. And you may assume that we would have somewhere here where I could pick a nice font. Because I have a left, center, right here, some horizontal alignment, but uppercase or not, but nowhere will you find that there's a font that I might expect to be able to change to make this look a little bit nicer. And that's because fonts are stored via computers, each computer. So I can't just say pick the font that I want. I actually have to include the font if I want a specific font here. And on Moodle, again, I have given you some font resources. In this case, I've already downloaded this one called Prism Regular. It's an open type font. You'll also find true type fonts out there. So I've brought it in like a sound file or a graphic file or something like that. And Godot gives us the ability to create what are called themes. A theme is kind of the look and feel for my game. So I could have an overarching theme. So all the labels had a particular font, all the background colors were a particular color, all the outlines were a particular color. And I could set that theme up, but I don't want to spend the time right now. I think that's a video for another day to create my theme. So very quickly though, we have a default theme. And what I want to do is to override that theme. So on the label, you'll find a theme override here. And you can see there's a couple basic things I can tweak. The colors that are set for the theme, the constants, the fonts, and the font size. So in this case, what I would like to do is to grab my font, and I want to override it from the default one to this nice stripy one. I can also tweak the size here. You say, oh, that's a little bit big. Make that 32. That looks good. So that now I've got a good looking label, and whenever I want to override a font, I can now do that quickly without having to spend all the time setting up a big complicated theme. And there we go. There's my coin 0. Now it's got a great look and feel to my game, and I can later on maybe use this heads-up display for something else as well. So now you've got some coins and a coin theme. Notice there's no heads-up display on level 2. I'll have to do that. Just make sure if you're adding coins that you connect the first one to the HUD so that you can then duplicate it on level 2. There you go.